Talk about PDA. It's so exciting. It's so exciting. Come on. Come on. All right, I'll make this quick and then we go back to PDA.
Well, for sure.
All right,
for sure.
so anyway, last week, just before I left to Egypt, I did a story on, a story. It was a segment I call Ask James, and people who write in questions about motoring. And it was about child seat safety law. People are asking about that. Interesting enough, so I called up Senator JV, who was one of the ones who authored the bill. And, all right, it's a very good thing. Super great idea, obviously. Keep our kids safe in the car. How do you transport your kids?
Car seat.
Even before it became a law?
Yeah,
well,
even before.
I'm glad to hear that because, I don't judge people who don't because we haven't had the educational campaign around it. And so, I would never say a parent's a bad parent for not doing it because if you're not, it's natural to hold your child, right?
Yeah,
you feel like it's okay, but that's not okay. It's very natural. Actually, that's perfectly natural to hold your child. What's not natural is we were never meant to travel in steel objects doing 100 kilometers an hour. Nothing natural about that. So now you have to adapt and put some unnatural things to save your child because if you have an accident at even 40,
momentum will
maybe
carry,
maybe can, as a coach, explain the science behind it. Momentum is times what of the child's weight.
Exactly.
Becomes even the strongest man in the world will have a hard time holding the child. That child ends up going through the windscreen and it's a disaster. So the child seat safety law is very, very good for everybody. What it requires you to do is anyone that's under 4'11" or 59 inches has to, so it's not age, although they recommend 12, but it's really the height. So my kids at 4, they were already fine. 4 years old, they were tall enough. But
they're giants.
Yeah, they're giants.
They take a lot of vitamin D.
Touche. So if your kid's under 4'11", they have to be in the back. They have to be strapped. They can't be in the front seat. Good news is I did some tests on some car seats, and where it gets tricky is because as a parent, you have to have the right seat for the right age of the child, and this can get very expensive. And this is where I was having a little bit of problem with the law, at least maybe in the IRR, to put in some leniency there because there's a number of things. One, when your child grows, you have to keep buying a new seat. Number two, if your car is coding, do you have to buy a new expensive seat because you don't want to skimp on your seat. So now you're going to get, 2 half-price seats so that you can have for your coding car. Maybe we can have an exemption if your car is fitted with a seat, something like that. I know some people abuse the law, but I'm just thinking of the actual. Let me think first of the people who would benefit. Exactly. I'm not pushing it out as a total. It's an unfiltered idea, but I'm just thinking of the parents that have to spend on a decent quality seat.
Huh?
They are
very expensive.
I found one seat. I won't mention brands anymore, but I found one seat, and I'm sure there are more than one brand that does this. But the brand that I saw is a very reputable brand that does 4-in-1. So that is a one seat that will grow with your child, and that becomes worthwhile. So it starts off as a rear-facing capsule where the child lies down in it from 0 pounds to like 12 or 8, something like that. Then from 14 pounds up, and then from 15 pounds to this one. All the way up until it becomes a booster seat.
That's cool.
It is cool. So, just for the parents out there that are trying to comply with this law, I wanted to talk about this in my video, which will be coming out, I think, tomorrow, saying that, it's great we have a law, but we really shouldn't have to have a law for you to take child safety seriously. So with this video, I'm not trying to just tell you how to comply. I'm telling you how to keep your child safe. They're two different things. If we're just ticking boxes, we're not really doing the best thing for our kids. Keep them safe, keep them strapped in. Nobody ever said in the history of the world, I expected that accident. I woke up this morning expecting that. No, that's why it's called an accident or crash. So please, you never know what will happen. Usually they say accidents happen. Most accidents happen within 5 kilometers of your home.
Wow.
That's a statistic.
I've heard that before, yeah.
When I heard that, I moved house. I was like, wow, this is terrible. You guys missed me, didn't you? You did. Come on. Come on. But please, let's not end on that note. Let's end on the note that, yes, child safety is a very important thing in the car. Please take it seriously. Visit your retailers. Try to look for the 4-in-1 car seat if you can. I'm sure there are many brands that do this. Go for a reputable one. Try to go for something with ISOFIX if you can. ISOFIX is just, it's an industry standard for car seats, and that means that instead of just running the seat belt through the gap, which they're designed for, by the way, so it's not illegal or a workaround. well, it's partly a workaround. You put the seat belt through this hoop that they have, but it won't really lock the seat in. Isofix has something at the back of on the parcel
Right.
shelf, or if it's a hatchback, it'll be on the floor. It's an anchor point where it will hold the top part of the back of rest of the seat, and then you have usually two which will lock down the two left and right side of the seat. So that seat will not move.
Yeah.
About 70% of cars here in the Philippines sold new have Isofix. It should be 100, but we don't have a law yet that says that. So when I was doing research, the most common figure I received from dealers was about 70%. So make sure when you're shopping for a car, if you have a kid, ask them
Isofix.
first. Does it have Isofix?
There
Cool.
you go. There you
That's
go.
not a brand, so I can say it. That's
Yeah.
That's like a standard.
Yeah, the industry standard. And if I'm not mistaken, the Isofix, to know if the seat that you're buying is Isofix, I think it's on the box.
It's on the box. It's
Yeah.
it's very much like a global standard.
Yeah.
So, and if not, if you can't see it, ask your dealer. That's why I say, if you're, especially if you're getting it now and your kid is got 5, 6, 8, 7, 10 years, whatever, to grow into it, invest in it. It's
of
and
course.
not something you want to skimp on. Don't go for the cheap stuff that will just
Yeah.
That's
They're your
child's life.
kids. They're
Yeah.
your children. You don't want your children.
Yeah, it's like buying an artificial pacemaker. It's like saying, oh, I saved money, whatever. Nobody will see it. Yeah. How'd that work out for you?
But no, I like what you said before. You don't want your child to become a projectile.
And it will.
course.
It will.
That's sad. But anyway,
Back to PDA.
back to PDA. I was just about to say that. Back to PDA. All right. So again, we are talking about how do you really feel about public displays.
We're
of
not
affection.
judging when we ask, by the way.
Yeah, we're not.
This is one thing I think we all want to make clear with the show is when we put these subjects out, we're not trying to steer you to feel a certain way. We're actually trying to be a barometer of some sort out there, get the vibe out there, and then, I mean, if there's anything disturbing, then maybe we might do something to, correct it with information. But generally speaking, we just want to find out what people feel so we get a gauge of things because we're so different.
Everybody grew up kasi in different in
Exactly.
different
Yeah.
environments. Like for example, with you, Coach.
Yeah, kasi among the three of us, I'm the only one that grew up talaga here, 100% here.
Right.
So, like when you were saying earlier in the States, it's completely normal. In here, growing up in the late 80s to early 90s, it wasn't. So if I saw, or if people saw couples, for lack of a better term, making out in public, it was different. Parang it was a scandal talaga.
The first time I saw two men, grown men with beards, making out in Australia, I mean, I'll be honest, and I'm not homophobic, but it alarmed me. It was like, because I had not been exposed to that in the Philippines at all. But then, once again, how you feel is you are entitled to feel that. It's how you act on it. That's the
Yes.
key. So in anything, really. I mean, I think sometimes when we talk about freedom of expression, freedom of whatever, I think sometimes we're a little bit misguided because sometimes we feel as people, if we're offended, that means we're right. That's not, they're not mutually exclusive, right? You cannot just say that.
Yeah.
Just because you're offended doesn't mean you're right because somebody else comes from a different standpoint, different viewpoint, and there's nothing wrong with that. So you have to sort of balance out how you are because you have to live in a society where there are a lot of different faiths and
I think
beliefs. And
The exact same thing
upbringing.
happened to me when I first, encountered that with two grown men kissing each other. It happened when my wife, we were dating back then, took me to a bar and ended up being a gay bar. I didn't know it was a gay bar, but it was a gay bar. So
Well,
I then,
now you know.
Yeah, now I know. Now I know that Malate is. Spain was the capital of gay bars in the Philippines. But yeah, so I didn't feel offended, but I felt uneasy. I felt uncomfortable. But again, it's how you act on it. Will you react on it aggressively? Will you react on it like inappropriately? Because when it becomes inappropriate, I mean, when you react inappropriate, that's when it becomes, something else.
Right.
KLITE.